Hey Ayushman, how are you doing? Thank you for joining. Can you hear me, Ayushman? Yeah, Lakshman, thank you for joining.
He said, can you hear me?
Yes, I
Sorry.
can hear you. How about you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, all good.
Okay, very good. We'll start in like 2 more minutes before everybody come.
Yeah,
How has been
all
your
right.
day?
It has just started. I just came into work. This is a late day. Yeah.
I guess it's Friday. It ends early too, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see about that. I'm meeting some of my friends at 7 in the evening today, so it cannot extend beyond that. So I'm here for a good 6 hours-ish.
Wow. Meeting on Friday at 7 p.m.?
Yeah.
That's pretty
I mean,
smart.
it's a, I mean, I'm meeting friends, so it's not a work meeting.
Oh, okay, not a work meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How is your day been?
My day, yeah, busy. Day starts early here at the farm. Wake up
Yeah.
like 3:30, 4 o'clock. And then there's meditation in the morning for a few hours. And then we come together and discuss some philosophy. And then I go out in the fields to do some work. That's why I'm a little bit sweaty. I was out in the fields, did some seva for cows, did some work in the farm. And now it's time for some head work.
Okay. You start an entire work day ahead of me.
Yeah. Yeah, I did meditation. I did some study a little bit in the morning and also did some hard work on the ground. So at least something in the ground, something is going on.
Yeah.
Another thing is that as you start getting older, things start moving fast for you somehow.
Oh,
Like,
I feel so even now. I
yeah,
just blinked and we're halfway through May now. I just remember ending my exams and then 15 days are just gone. And I don't know what I did for that.
yeah, the things go very fast. Okay, we'll wait for 1 more minute. Okay, I guess we can begin. I'm sharing my screen. I'm recording it also in case somebody misses it, we can see it. So, okay, so we'll start with the game. This is called Sunrise, Rise with the Sun, which means in the beginning, everybody keeps their camera off, and then I'll ask a question. If your answer is yes, you turn your camera on, and then you again turn it off afterwards. Okay. So my first question is, uh, switch on your camera if you like ice cream. I guess I like it, so I'm gonna keep my camera on. Roshni likes ice cream. Yay! Ooh. Lakshman too. Hey, everybody likes ice cream. Good. Now you gotta again turn it off. Next one. Switch on on your camera if you feel you're an introvert. I guess I should turn it off.
Somewhere in between.
Somewhere. Okay. I guess that's plenty. We got limited time today, so we'll move on. So earlier, last week we discussed, actually a week ago we discussed the introduction to Bhagavad Gita, where we discussed where it is placed. And oh, one second, what happened here? Starting the wrong slide here. 1 second. Okay. Right, sure. Okay. So last week we discussed, 2 weeks ago we discussed the where the Bhagavad Gita is placed. The Bhagavad Gita, as we understand, is, I'm not sure. Can you see the screen there? Not yet. Messed up. So we discussed a couple of weeks ago how Bhagavad Gita is placed in the Mahabharata. Mahabharata is huge. It has got 100,000 verses. And the Gita is a very small piece of it, only got 700 verses. So 700 verses, 1,000 verses out of 100,000, that's less than 1%. But it is the most popular, you can say, the piece of the Mahabharata, which is accepted all around the world. And as I was telling last time, or a couple of weeks ago, that the Gita is the third most popular book in the world. The first being the Bible, the second being, any guesses?
Harry
Second,
Potter.
Harry Potter. Yeah, you remember, good. Second being the Harry Potter, and the third being the Bhagavad Gita. By the way, I'm having the allergy, so I might be sneezing here and there because I was outside the field. Something got in my nose. I apologize for that. Okay, so the Gita is spoken in the middle of the in the middle of the Mahabharata, and Gita is the most popular book, as I said, most popular piece of the Mahabharata. So how are we to study it? So we'll study every week a chapter. It is placed. We discussed this last time that it was spoken. Of course, Lakshman had really good questions last week. We really appreciate. And we also have somebody named Shiva join. Hey Shiva, are you from CSU or somewhere in Cleveland? I don't know.
I'm from Bowling Green University.
Bowling
BG.
Green. Thank
Yeah.
you, Shiva. Thank you for joining us. So we're discussing today chapter 1, and I'm glad you're here today for the first chapter. So for each chapter, what I would do is I will give you also an acronym and give you the major theme. We won't discuss all the verses, but we will discuss the major themes given in the chapter. And by giving you an acronym, I'm helping you understand and you can say remember the major aspects of that chapter. So let's begin. And before we begin, each time we say a prayer in Sanskrit, the prayer is I'll say it and you can just listen. Om Jnana Timandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, who has opened my darkened eyes to the burning torch of transcendental knowledge. Why do we offer this prayer? Because later in the Gita we will hear Krishna would tell Arjuna that the reason Arjuna is getting this knowledge is because Arjuna is very obedient. So this knowledge is not like information. It is something which impacts our heart. So although I'll give you acronym, I'll give you theme, but at the end of the day, we're not looking for more information about Gita, but what we're looking for is a transformation in our heart, our personality, our characteristics. And if that doesn't happen, we haven't done the Gita. Whereas if somebody reads one verse of the Gita and there's a transformation in the heart, that the heart becomes peaceful, there is less envy, anger, greed, then it's a sign that we are making progress. We have really read Bhagavad Gita. That is why we offer prayers before the beginning of Gita, so that we can enter this mystical world, which is not a world of what do you call it, information. It's a world of emotion. It's a world of mysticism. So welcome. So chapter one, the acronym is doubt. Why is the acronym doubt? Actually, doubt is, you can say, is the beginning of spiritual life. The Gita is part of the whole Vedas, as you can say, and the Vedas are summarized in the form of Vedanta Sutra. The first sutra of the Vedanta, written by Vyasadeva, is Athato Brahmana Jignasa, which means spiritual life begins when there is a doubt. There is no beginning to spiritual life unless we have a doubt in material life. And how does that doubt come? Like when some near one passes away, or some calamity may happen. Like recently, there was this COVID, which made many people think deeply. It shook people up deeply about their own life. Here, I mean, many people were here. Most of you were here. You're not that young. You were there during the COVID period. Did you feel during the COVID period it made you ponder over the fickleness of life? Isn't it? You can post in the chat if you like, or just say unmute yourself and speak for yourself. Roshni, you want to say something?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, it shook us,
Yeah.
shook people up. Like it reminded us, oh wow, we thought that the life is meant to go for long and long, and so many of our near and dear ones passed away in a short notice. It was quite surprising. Lakshman says yes too. Yeah. So the Gita is the first chapter. Although the first chapter is no lessons from Krishna, but it is something which helps us place in the right framework where we can absorb the knowledge of Gita. And it is all about doubt. So Arjuna will share his doubts in this chapter. But before Arjuna shares his doubt, somebody started to say something. Let's see who's there. Pulkit, do you want to share something?
No, I'm good.
You're good.
Sorry.
So we are beginning with the doubt. The first verse, there are 5 sections to it. Doubt, D-O-U-W-T. D stands for, the first 12 verses are the verses spoken by Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, which I'm guessing, since all of us are Indians, we know the characters. They are speaking. The next 13 to 20 verses are about the signals or the signs which talked about an ominous event about to happen. Then 21 to 27, Arjuna talks about uncertainty in his life. 28 to 30, he shows that he's bewildered. And 31 to 46 is the point is a point in his life when things change around completely. It's a turning point for him. So this is the basic idea. We begin with the first verse, which is 1.1. I'll pick people to read the verses, and then you can just unmute yourself and read. And if you feel we can't read it, then you can put in the chat that you can't read. So I'll ask Ayushman, can you unmute yourself and read this translation for us, please?
Okay. Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjay, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, desiring to fight, what did they do?
So this is the first verse. Now, why is Dhritarashtra speaking here? Dhritarashtra actually is a blind king. He is himself not able to go to the battlefield. But he wants to know what's happening there. So he was in his palace in Hastinapur in Delhi, present Delhi, and he wanted to know what is happening in Kurukshetra. So he calls on his minister Sanjaya, who has this thing called Divya Chakshu. Divya Chakshu means a heavenly vision by which he can stand in one place and see what's happening on the other side. Now, this is something not very, what you can say, some strange concept. If you look in the modern science, there's a concept known as remote viewing. You can look it up on your computer. It's something which is where people can stay in one place and see things which are happening somewhere far across, somewhere far away. So many people have done research on this. You can't explain it, but how it happens. But some people have this capacity that they can remote view. They can see things for miles and miles away. So Sanjaya is being asked by Dhritarashtra, hey, what's happening on this battlefield? Now, uh, in this verse, also what we're hearing is that Dhritarashtra is actually having some doubt about the war. So what is that? What is his doubt? He's concerned whether, because this region where the war is happening, Kurukshetra, that's a very holy place. So he's worried that, if suppose Duryodhana went to the holy place and maybe his mind changed and he thought of doing a pact with the Pandavas, then there won't be any war. Actually, all behind this war, it was not just Duryodhana. Dhritarashtra himself also wanted war. Why? Because he wanted his kingdom to continue. He wanted that his name continues. And he didn't want the Pandavas to continue. He was very jealous, very unhappy. And because of that, he's worried, hey, maybe Duryodhana, got moved by the power of the holy place, and maybe he forgot about the need to fight the war. So he's worried about this. Now, this first verse and next 11 verses, Duryodhana also shares his concerns. So if you read the translation of the first 12 verses, you will find that Duryodhana also shows apprehensions. He goes to meet his teacher, Bhishma Dev. He goes to meet his teacher, Dronacharya, and he tells them, hey, we need your help. I need your help. But at the same time, he tells them that, you need to help Dronacharya. He tells Dronacharya, you need to help Bhishma Dev. And he sort of like criticizes them, but at the same time applauds them. So he's very diplomatic. So what can we learn from this Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana? We already heard this. So what we can learn is that there are three things in life: IQ, EQ, and SQ. What is IQ? We all are aware. Intelligence. This is something which we are taught from a very, being in India. There's so much pressure, so much focus on IQ, which is how we should be really smart in our lives, how we should really focus on, you can say, being very good at grades and exams. But at the same time, here, Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra, they are very sharp and diplomatic. I mean, they are able to plan all kinds of situations in which they can corner the Pandavas, try to poison them, try to burn them alive in a mansion. So they have very high IQs. There's no shortage of IQ in their life. However, although they have very sharp IQs, they are unhappy. This is also the finding of social scientists. It used to be the case, social scientists used to put very lot of emphasis on IQ in the past. They used to say, hey, people should be very intelligent, then they'll be successful. But lately, they have found that people who are very high in IQ may not be very satisfied and happy in their life. So what they have found is that people also need to have good amount of EQ, emotional quotient. So what is EQ stands for? EQ means being able to control your emotions, being able to have, mediate relationships, understand what other people feel, understand their emotions. So without having a good EQ, you would not be able to work as a good team member. Without having good EQ, your relationships won't last. You will be a strain on the society. Maybe somebody with a really high IQ can be an outlier, can live in the forest, but to function in the society, to function in a company, to function in organizations, EQ is needed. And that's what many companies now also test for, is how much EQ does a person have. However, that's not the only thing. Although, what's his name? The Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, they lacked what you call EQ and SQ, because they didn't really sympathize with other people's feelings, with the emotions of Kunti Devi, emotions of Pandavas. But another thing is that it's an SQ. SQ means spiritual quotient. What does spiritual quotient means? Spiritual quotient means understanding the bigger picture of life, understanding why we are here, what are we supposed to do, and understanding our role in this bigger picture. And this is what really makes us the most happy. This is the opinion of the sages of India, of the wisdom of the East, that not only we should invest in our IQ and EQ, however, we should also invest in our SQ. So what we can learn from the characteristics of Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, that although they're very selfish, very self-centered, miserly, and they're very unhappy because of that. So they have high IQ, and they have all the characteristics of being a very successful professionally, but because of lack of EQ and SQ, they are not models for us. And they try different techniques to convince others to be on their side. So that was the D. T for Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra, what we can learn from their life. Moving on to the next one, which is ominous results. So verses 13 to 20 talk about different ominous signs which are described by Sanjaya to Dhritarashtra. He starts telling what's happening in the war. Because first, Dhritarashtra asks, then Sanjaya tells that Duryodhana has gone here, Duryodhana has gone there. And now, starting verse 13, he starts telling the unfolding of events on the battlefield. So what are the events happening? Verse number 14. Pulkit, can you please read this for us?
Yes. The sounding of the transcendental conch shells indicated that there was no hope for victory for the other side because Krishna was on the other side of the Pandavas. Was on the side of the Pandavas. Victory is always with the person like the sons of Pandus because Lord Krishna is associated with them.
Yes. So this is the opinion of the Sanjaya, that there was blowing of conch shells. And those conch shells, when they were blown, Sanjaya says those conch shells did not disturb the hearts of the Pandavas, but hearing those conch shells, the hearts of the Kurus or the Duryodhana's army, Kauravas, their hearts were shattered. Now, just telling you some numbers. Duryodhana's army had 12 Akshahoni. Akshahoni means like a million army men. He had 12 million army men, whereas Arjuna only had 8. So in terms of numbers, number of conch shells and number of power on Pandava's side was very small. But because Krishna is with the Pandavas, when they blew their conch shells, it shattered, it shook the army on the other side a lot. So Sanjay is already foretelling the end of the war to Dhritarashtra. That you can see, even at the blowing of the conch shells, your army is shaking up. And what can we learn from this? So, what we can learn from this is that sometimes we look for happiness in material things, and we may try a lot and get some also, but usually whenever we get any material achievement, it cannot last for a long time. First of all, um, futility, which means what? We try very hard and we may not get it. We try very hard. Even if we get it in substantiality, we may get it, but the happiness, which pleasure it gives, lasts only for a small bit of second. I remember in 20, it has been like almost a decade, I published a paper at like a big conference, and I had worked very hard for the paper, this quality paper, and somehow or other, when we got the best paper award there, so I was very happy. But the happiness only lasted, I would say, maybe for like a day or two. And then there was another deadline coming up, another thing in life. So, like, we worked so hard for it. And somehow that I got it also. I didn't expect it, the best paper award. But the happiness, the pleasure got very small, very insignificant. And what else? Temporality. What is that? Again, as I said, ephemerality, small. And duality. What is duality? Even if we work very hard, get something, anytime we get some pleasure or some success in material life, it also comes on the basis of a lot of hard work. We have to say no to a lot of temptations and work very hard to achieve that. Now, what Krishna is saying or is telling us through this passage is that we should aspire for a life which not only feels good outside, it looks good outside, like in outside we have big house, big car, but even on the inside, there should be a lot of happiness. There should be a lot of joy, whether we succeed or not. I'm not saying we should not strive or work very hard, but at the same time, we should always ponder and look within, time to time, on a regular basis, to look within. Am I really happy and satisfied inside? Let me tell you a quick story. One time, there were these 4 friends that had gone to Brooklyn, and there they had taken a room at the 80th floor at a Hilton hotel. So they spent the whole day there, and they came to the hotel, and after they came to the receptionist told that today we have doing some work on the lift, so elevator, so you have to go walking upstairs. So now these 4 friends starting walking upstairs, and in order to bide with time, they started telling each of the stories. And when they reached 70th floor, they noticed one of their friends was being very morose, being very quiet. So they asked him, "Why don't you tell us some story?" So that 4th friend said, "I have a story which has a lot of tragedy associated with it." So his friends asked, "What's the story?" The story is that we have come to the 70th floor, and I left the keys at the reception on the ground floor. So sometimes it can happen with us also. Oftentimes we go and we strive very hard for goals which are not really our goals. We live a life which other people have imagined for us. And why that happens? Because we're not being authentic. We don't look within ourselves. Is this really what I want in my life? Is this what really inspires me or pushes me forward, gives me a real happiness? If we live a life like that, then life will be happy, inside and outside. Next aspect is verses 21 to 27. In verses 21 to 27, we hear about uncertainty which Arjuna shares about the upcoming war. So I will ask Lakshman to read this for us. By the way, just a small background here. So after all these obvious signs, Arjuna is a little uncertain. So Arjuna, okay, Lakshman say can't read. I'll find somebody, no problem. Thank you. So after there were so many ominous signs, Arjuna, as the leader of the Pandavas, he's uncertain. So he asks Krishna to bring him to the center of the war, to the center of the battlefield. So then Arjuna speaks this verse, and I will ask here Roshani, can you please read this for us?
Arjuna said, O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see those present here who desire to fight and with whom I must contend in this great trial of arms.
So Arjuna, he tells to Krishna, Krishna, I need help. He's feeling a little uncertain. So he says, before we start fighting war, I want to take a moment, take a pause, and really look at what I'm going to do. So he comes to question. He's the biggest warrior, but just before the start of the war, he comes to question this whole war. Now, how many of us have the courage that where just before we have to make a big decision, we question ourselves, is this what really I want for my life? Like recently, when we had the COVID, it made many people question life. Um, and like this is a picture of rat race. If you go to New York, practically you can see this scene. I was in New York recently for like a couple of months, and you see people are going in and out, working very hard, and they hardly have any time to think about life's bigger question. What are the different reasons? There are three reasons why people don't think about deeper questions in life. Why people don't have this, you can say, thought process. But I think it's reasons either we're too busy, or we are too comfortable with what's happening in our life, or we are too proud. We think we are in control of everything. So because of this, what happens is that we don't realize that that we need to make progress in our internal growth too. During COVID, because it was lockdown, there was people not anymore busy. So in India, I have some friends. They launched online Gita courses, and there are thousands of people who joined them and were interested in them. During lockdown, also they were not so much comfortable available because people were a little uncomfortable because of not lack of resources, and that also made people think a lot. I'm sure if you look back at your life, whenever we have, uh, you know, discomfort in the life, we start questioning small things and pride, because despite having all kinds of medical facilities, we were not able to save many people who were rich in India and in America also. They were like getting sick like anything, and there was no medicine which could help. So it shattered people's faith, and it made people question about life. So in one sense, uncertainty is actually good. It makes us question life, and actually in some sense it brings us growth. So uncertainty, which Arjuna is expressing and showing here, is something which we should embrace. Uncertainty is helpful, it's good for growth. So now I would like us to, we have a small group, so maybe we can discuss this question together. I don't think I can make a breakout room right now here, but we can discuss this question together. We can discuss a situation where we experience uncertainty about a decision, and discuss how did we resolve it, if you can think of something like that. Let's discuss this, and that would be the end of our today's meeting, which is what you want to hear. It's not the end of the meeting. I have something else also to share after this quickly, but maybe we discuss this for a couple of minutes. Does anybody want to share an experience where they felt some uncertainty in their life, and they were able to resolve it. It helped them also grow somewhat. We'll take a couple of minutes. I mean, I'll open the stage here for a couple of minutes if anybody wants to share something. Anybody wants to share any life experience where they felt some uncertainty in their life? Because the idea is that when we're reading this Gita, it's not something which we're reading as a historical book. We're reading this book as a book to follow in the footsteps of Arjuna, as I was saying earlier, or last week, or actually Wednesday. So it's important to draw parallel and think about, uncertainty, and how do we resolve that? How did you resolve that? Okay, let me share one, because since the stage is open here. I remember that a couple of years ago. I mean, this is quite personal, but a couple of years ago, I mean, of course, I've been in the US for the last more than 10 years. A couple of years ago, I lost my mother. She was very sick. And so I was often going to spend time with her. I would spend my time here in the US, and I would also go to India to spend time with her to, give her comfort. And a point came where doctor said that she doesn't have much time. I had like maybe 6 months to 8 months, something like that. And I was thinking in my mind what to do in my life, because I was running programs here in the college and also doing events here in Michigan. So how much to invest in that versus how much to invest there. So that time I asked, I really pondered, as a son, what is my responsibility? And I asked my friends, and from everywhere the advice I got was that this is the last part of our life. We should definitely go and spend that many months with her. And I took their advice. And I feel very happy that I did that, because those last few months which I spent with her, they really brought me very close to her. And I was able to see, you can see a hand of God in every aspect when I was there with her. I could see that although I had been away from her for many, many years, because I'm here in the US, but um, the Lord had ensured, Krishna had ensured that she had made tremendous progress in her spiritual life. She had become a very mature person spiritually. And just spending time with her became so much fun. She would really complain, and it was all about, we would just share spiritual insights with each other. And she, in one sense, very happily embraced the next step in her life. So it really opened me up to this idea that when we progress, when we strive very hard spiritually, it's not that we lose anything in our relationships. In fact, somehow the Lord also gives inspiration to other of our family members and relatives, and they also become very mature, because we are striving their heart. They follow the example. Krishna himself gives them inspiration in their heart. So it really, I was in a period of uncertainty, but with the help of my friends' advice, I was able to resolve it. I guess my faith in Krishna and this process grew tremendously. So now we want to do a small journaling exercise. I would recommend, if you have pen and paper, you can grab that. And I would like to give you a couple of questions to reflect. And the questions are two. First question is, you should think about what are you getting stuck right now with? Is there something in which you're getting stuck at? Or where am I feeling stuck in any aspect of life? I'm sure all of us want to grow in various ways, but is there any aspect of life in which you feel right now you're stuck? Write that out. And second, what has helped me in the past when I felt stuck? What did I do? I can also send you this question in the chat. Okay. So I will also take a minute. I will also write down in my screen or my chat, sorry, my text box, notepad. We'll take 2-3 minutes or 2 minutes. How about we do this after the call? We won't do it in the call because I only have 3 minutes left in this call. And I would like to end with a small meditation. So that's it. We discussed today up till verse, let's see, OUWDOU. So next Tuesday, we'll continue from there. We cover up till verse number, let's see. These are the questions, meditation. This is for next week. So I'm checking which verse. Okay, we'll pick up from verse number 28 next week. So we have covered until verse number 27. So let's do a quick 2-minute meditation. And for that, I will share a meditation. Actually, before that, I share the meditation. Anybody has any thoughts or reflection, any comments to share from what we discussed today? I would like to hear some reflections. Anything which you liked, anything you want to comment upon?
Something I felt that I can reflect upon is like the 3 things you talked about that hinder a person's growth. That personally I felt something I can ponder upon, like if I'm getting too busy or comfortable or like things like that. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else wants to share something? Pulkit, Lakshman, Ayushman? You can share in the chat box or here. We have a minute and a half left. Lakshman is saying something. Just something I found was helpful was, I guess he's typing something. Oh, you have the Gita open. That's nice. You're reading along with it. That's nice. Pulkit, you are our wise guy here. You read almost the up to introduction. Share something. And Ayushman, you are pretty intelligent also. Share something. Lakshman is saying sorry about typing. Yeah, no, typing is fine. Typing is wonderful.
Hello.
Yes,
Yeah,
Ayushman.
I like the how you had like throughout the session, like how you had categorized like the verses like DUBT, and that
Yeah,
actually like also reflects the first aspect, like doubt. I really liked how you had done that aspect and how you elaborated on these, categorized these verses and like along a common theme, and like how you actually uh, it also gave an insight into the first chapter's overall this thing like theme of doubt as a whole. So that was, I think, really a good way to send the message across. Yeah.
nice.